Welcome friends to another r/maliciouscompliance video. So I was checking out my statistics and it turns out that only one of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you don't want to be the one holdout, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our first story of the day is by Tripped on My Face. My army shot records aren't good enough? Cool, here's my whole VA file. Alright fellow appreciators of absurdity and pettiness, here's a satisfying medium-length read to get you that much closer to the weekend as you grind away at the hamster wheel that is the American work week. So I recently transitioned from active duty army to the National Guard, which, as my fellow former service members know, comes with a metric buttload of paperwork and medical records. This will be relevant later. So I got out last December, got accepted to grad school in February, and just started class a few weeks ago. As you all know, there's some sort of pandemic virusy thing going on, and many institutions require a vaccine to attend in-person classes, which the program I'm enrolled in falls under. Like a good little boy, I got my vaccine as soon as I could last March, posted the obligatory nobody gives a crap picture of my vaccine card, and then moved on with my life. Fast forward to June, and I'm hopping through the endless admin hoops of going back to school. And of course, submitting immunization records is on the to-do list. Since I got my shot through the National Guard, they actually already had the box checked for the COVID vaccine. Cool, maybe that's because I'm attending a public university in the state I'm in the Guard for. So maybe they share a medical database? I don't know, doesn't matter. And for those of you who cry HIPAA, newsflash, when you join the military, you give a few things up. You get stuff in return, blah blah, not what the story's about. Although I don't think that a COVID shot can do anything to me that anthrax, typhoid, and smallpox shots, 3 pinched nerves, and 5 years of running on pure hate and caffeine hasn't done to me already, but hey, I'm still kicking. On to the malicious compliance part. Now to submit the rest of my immunization shot records, I have to upload a PDF into the school's medical portal. So I go through the shot record in my medical out-processing packet, snip the page so it's just the immunizations, thinking no need to include extraneous military stuff that may confuse them, and hit submit. It's literally just one page. A few days later, lo and behold, I get a notice saying my medical records are incomplete or incorrect, and action is required on my behalf. I have to upload more info. Okay, will do. I just want to get this done. So I submit the whole shot record, historical record testing portion. About 30 pages. Oh, what do you know? Deja vu. A few days later, I get an email saying, "Dear Mr. Student, this is to inform you that additional action is required." Yeesh. So I log into the medical portal because of course, this can't be done through email. HIPAA, I know, I just like to complain because we're all human, sue me. And see that whoever reviewed the longer PDF I uploaded wasn't satisfied, saying my submission of proof of immunization was incomplete. Okay, fine. You know what? We'll play that game. I go dig through a closet and find the folder that has my out-processing stuff from active duty. The thing is, when you get out, they'll give you a physical, a hard copy of your medical records on CDs, in addition to all the digital stuff, as well as what they send to the VA. My medical records were long enough to require 2 CDs, so I copy them to my laptop, then upload them to the school's medical portal. All 745 pages of CD1 and 300 pages of CD2. Before I hit upload, I respond to the previous message explaining that this is the entirety of my service medical records, and if this isn't sufficient documentation, please let me know. This was in maybe late July or early August. Fast forward to mid-September, and today I received an email confirming the acknowledgement of my proof of vaccination status. Hooray! Solely out of curiosity, I decide to check the documents part. Lo and behold, it's the original one-pager I made. Now to be fair, I have no idea if someone read through that whole thing or said, "Screw this guy," and went back to the first one, but either way, due to the 6+ week wait, I like to think some poor sap actually tried to dig through that. But hey, if you really want to waste my time, I'll return the favor. Do you think this situation is more OP's fault for not sending as much information as possible to begin with, or the medical portal's fault for not explaining what you actually are missing? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by Baron Zametti 13. Don't waste your time? Okay, I won't. I work for a very large store that sells many different kinds of construction materials. The other day, I had a very impatient woman that insisted that she could buy a few items out of a box that is always sold by the box and never individually. She originally asked a fairly new coworker of mine if she could buy them individually, to which he responded with, "I'm not sure, let me ask my coworker." This is fairly standard for new employees, of course, except the moment he turned his back to her, she took the few she had in her hands and began to leave. I told him that we don't in fact sell them individually, so we called her back to him to inform her of this. We led her back over to the products to see if we could help her find something that she could buy individually, when the woman pointed at the boxes she had taken the items out of and said, "Well, these ones are open, so people must buy them individually all the time." Of course, there were none actually missing from the boxes except the ones she took out. It was just damaged packaging on the others. I was trying to explain that they wouldn't let her pay for the items as they were out of the package, but I was cut off by, "Well, the boxes are open so people buy them individually, so I'm buying them individually, don't waste my time." I warned her once again that she wouldn't be allowed to purchase the items, but she ignored me and kept walking. So I pulled out my work phone and called my cashier manager. I quickly told her that I had a woman coming up to the front of the store with a few items that were taken out of their packaging and could not be sold to her. From what I understand, the moment she got to the cash registers, they were telling her she wasn't going to be able to pay for the items she wanted, and the woman started screaming at the cashiers, but stormed out pretty quickly when she realized she wasn't going to get her way. In the end, I gave her what she wanted. I bet she's never been told no as quickly as she was that day. I was just glad I could help her speed up the process. No man, how many times do we have to tell you you can't buy only 3 Skittles? You buy the whole mini bag or nothing at all. I don't know what item she wanted, but this isn't the produce aisle where you can pick up as many items as you want, or you can take one banana off of the bunch. If it's a 6-pack, it's a 6-pack. You're not going to just take one out and pay 1/6. What kind of Looney Tunes logic is that? Our next story is by Jed292. I need to ask my manager first? Sure. I was a young guy, new to the industry. I used to work maintenance in a factory, but after a few years, switched to replace the retiring machine workshop guy. Technically a different department, but still closely related. To keep the place running, occasionally I'd still do odd maintenance jobs, fix a bent thing here, replace some bolts there, just little things, and only when they were more important than whatever else I was doing. For some reason, the maintenance manager took offense to this. Apparently, if I'm going to do a job for the shop floor, I can't just go help someone when they ask. I need to go ask a manager. Meaning, come ask my permission and I'll decide if you're too busy. Honestly, the guy was a control freak. Nothing to do with issue reporting, since I still did that anyway. Doing it his way was more important than doing it right, so this wasn't out of character. I basically ignored this. He was never around to ask, and often in the time it took to find him, I'd be done with the job. So cue several more talkings to when he catches me doing jobs, and eventually he threatens to take it further if I keep disobeying this order. Then the obvious solution clicks. A few days later, he comes storming up to me while I'm fixing something. Thoroughly pissed, he begins ranting at me about how he's told me time and time again that I need to ask, that clearly I can't listen, and if I can't listen, I shouldn't be doing this job. I tell him, actually, I did ask. They say, no you didn't. I say, I didn't ask you, I asked my manager. He says it's fine and did not bother him asking about every little job, so just get on with it. Now, is there anything else or can I get back to work? The machine is stood after all. He stood there for a few seconds, starting the first syllable of a word and doing half a hand gesture before cutting himself off, mouth opening and closing like a goldfish, eventually just storming off, pretending that it's all okay. Being new and young, I'd get pushed around a lot, get stuck doing the bad job that wasn't mine to do, that sort of thing. This was the turning point where I realized a polite freak off with a reason to back it up does wonders. I don't get the bad jobs anymore. Oh, what a joy it is to play manager warfare. I'm just wondering if OP going to the other manager and asking them and getting the approval and whatnot makes the argumentative manager want to go and get to the bottom of things with that other manager. maybe start a little bit of beef there. This next story is by O'Connell6208. You're docking me 2.5 hours a week for lunch, whether I take it or not? I worked for a prestigious millwork. We made cabinets and custom moldings, etc., etc. Very, very high-end, working with companies on tight schedules. I was the only truck driver. Company was owned by a husband and wife, and the wife did not like me. They had implemented mandatory lunches for everyone in the shop and building, etc., etc. But due to the uniqueness of my position, I usually didn't have to adhere to stupid rules like that. And I knew it was just a way for them to screw the workers because a lot of guys were dedicated and would work through lunch. She finally caught up to me one day and was reviewing my time card and was angry and said, "I don't care, you don't have any excuse, you must take a lunch." And I argued the point, said that some of the materials I was picking up with was critical. She said, "I don't care." I think now is when I entered into the malicious part of this. So I would go to pick up zebra wood that they needed right away at noon. And after the load was loaded, I pulled into Burger King and ignored any phone calls that my manager sent and got back to the shop 2 hours later. He was livid because he had 3 very expensive people standing around waiting for me. Needless to say, I never had to take a lunch again. Sometimes you have no choice, but the bottom line is, if it's ever possible, don't work for free. Any place that has you working labor and they try to get you with a mandatory lunch break or something like that, take that lunch break. Don't let them abuse your time. Our next story is by Veronicon. Just do my freaking job? Okay. To start, I'm a guard in a level 4 to 5 security prison. The other day, I was posted at the side door, which is where the offenders exit out to industry and to the rec yard. An offender worker attempted to exit, telling me he was going to mow the lawn. Only problem is he was wearing shorts and tennis shoes. I instruct him to go back to his unit and change into long pants and work boots before using the industrial lawnmower. This made him very angry. He told me to sit down and shut up and do my freaking job. Absolutely. After again sending him back to his unit to change and him informing me that he would have my freaking job, I then emailed our facility's safety officer. Per OSHA, the offender needed to wear jeans and work boots. His refusal means the removal of his job privileges. Instead of just changing his clothes, he made me do my freaking job. You know, all this time I never realized that pants are kind of the go-to for mowing. It seems so logical, but I just kind of assumed shorts are breezier so it wouldn't be as bad. But you learn your lesson after you get whacked in the leg a good 100 times. And our final story of the day is by AAV Man. You want to mess with our review team? Okay. I, 26-year-old male, was on a trip to New York City 4 years ago with friends. We went for Cuban food and split the bill with everyone's favorite peer-to-peer payment service, the blue one. Tagged the bill Cuban food and waited, but my buddy didn't get it. Tried again, no dice. A few hours later, they went through. Weird, I thought. Eventually, we figure out Venmo will hold suspect payments for review, and the US and Cuba not being on business terms at the time meant it was flagged. Being a few chuckle freaks, we started splitting bills and tagging them Cuba, Al-Qaeda, drug deal, Kim Jong-un, etc. All of them delayed but eventually released. Following this, I made one final payment. Hookah, also Cuba and Castro and such. JK, just messing with insert payment company names regulatory agency. They didn't approve the payment. They also never rejected it. It's been 4 years and they still haven't released my buddy's $8. Props to whoever reviews these payments, they got a good sense of humor. I'd like to think they have an annual review of backlogged flags, and this one comes up and someone chuckles to themselves and manually keeps it under review. Now, I can't pretend to understand how any of that process actually works, but it's kind of funny to think how something as innocent as Cuban food can be flagged and reviewed. But then OP said they actually went off the deep end and were putting direct references to very sensitive topics that Venmo would most certainly flag, but they were still releasing it. I guess if you just target the review agency directly, you just ain't gonna get your money back regardless. I guess that's what happens when you joke around and try to see what happens, right? But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.